here at Ngozi Talk Shows, Find Your Own Voice, Lead from Within. So with me today, I'm with Carol Ann Cooper and Shireen Lovegrove. How are you ladies?
Good, thank you, Namsa. And you?
I'm
Good,
very well, thank you.
good. I'm good too. Yeah.
Yay.
Okay, how is the weather where you are, guys?
The weather is good.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it's still hot, but it's not as hot, and there's some cloud up there now, so it is cooler outside, but
Awesome,
yeah,
awesome.
Well, I went for a
it's more
quick walk,
bearable.
so I know that it's nice out here.
Yeah,
21, not bad.
Mm,
awesome, awesome.
yeah.
So let's go to Carol Ann's topic. So the topic today, guys, is the cost of not choosing yourself. There comes a time in life when you must ask yourself a difficult but necessary questions. How much has it cost me to keep abandoning myself? Every time you silence your truth to keep the peace, remain where you are, no longer respected, ignored, ignore your needs, shrink your dreams, or place everyone else's happiness above your own well being, you pay a price. So that price may not be visible immediately. It often appears slowly through exhaustion, resentment, confusion, broken confidence, delayed dreams, emotional pains, and the quiet feelings that you are living a life that does not fully belongs to you. So, Carol Ann, you chose this topic. May you tell us and our audience what was the motivation behind
Yeah, it's just continuing on our exploration and sort of like rounding things up. Because last week we explored the idea that sometimes what we call burnout may actually be a sign that something in our lives has fallen out of alignment. Perhaps we're saying yes when we really want to say no. Perhaps we're continuing with commitments that have actually we've outgrown. We're just staying in it for the sake of staying in it and haven't realized that we've actually outgrown it. And perhaps we're living according to expectations that no longer reflect who we are. And that brings us to an important question. How do we become misaligned in the first place? Often it doesn't happen through one big decision. It happens gradually. It's actually in the moments when we put our own needs to one side, when we silence what we really think, when we stay quiet to keep the peace,
Mm.
when we follow someone else's expectations instead of listening to ourselves, when everyone has a place in our decision except us. And I can, this sort of resonates. I can feel resonance of this sort of through my life. And sometimes we do this for very understandable reasons: love, responsibility, loyalty, belonging. But over time, there can be a cost. So as we come to this final conversation of this series of 12, we're exploring a question, and this is where the title comes from. We're exploring a question that perhaps sits underneath everything we've talked about over these last 12 weeks. What is the cost of repeatedly not choosing yourself? And what may begin to change when you finally include yourself in the decisions that shape your own life? So, me first, everyone else second, is not what this is about. It's about I matter too. It's recognizing when you have repeatedly abandoned yourself, abandoned your needs, your values, your voice, even your dreams, your boundaries, and your truth, in order to maintain relationships, full expectations, avoid conflict. I know that one. Or gain acceptance. So the question actually becomes, where have I disappeared from my own life? So this is where all this comes from. So exploring this And what does choosing yourself mean? Yeah. So, Shireen, what were your thoughts? What's here for you as we dive into this this topic?
Yeah, it's a very interesting topic, isn't it? Because where do I start on this topic, really? It is such a huge topic. And I suppose what we're kind of looking at is all the social norms that make us feel as though we have got to do something to fit into something. And I suppose that what was ringing is that, from a very big, strong survival sense, we have got to find our place within the structure that we're living in. And so very often there are other very strong personalities with very strong opinions that want their needs to be heard. And that means we have got to find a way in order to survive, right? So what we've done is done something very helpful, very useful, although it does mean we disappear ourselves very often, right? So and I think one of the big main underlying beliefs that women often carry, that a lot of women carry, is that I'm not valuable, I'm not enough, I'm not important, I'm not worthy, right? Lots of women carry that because of the fact they have actually disappeared themselves. And they've built their worth, their value, their enoughness on monitoring what they're doing for others. And they get praised for that. So they do more of it, because by being praised for doing something, we get our dopamine hit. And guess what? We do more, right? The problem with that is that we often end up interpreting what other people might need, which may not be what they actually need. And the other thing is, often people don't really see us, right? So we do disappear ourselves because they don't think about us. They don't know what kind of things we like or dislike. They buy us the wrong presents. So if you start finding yourself, wondering, how come I keep getting a present I don't like? Right? Or how come people come and they've made food that I don't like? What is it that we then feel, we can't say anything because we don't want to be rude and we don't want to tell anybody anything. But the problem is, we then stay perpetually unhappy.
Yeah.
We then have our needs never met. And the problem that then happens is we get this build-up, because there starts to be a conflict between me that wants to be seen and the me that wants to stay hidden or wants to rescue. There's a nice little conflict that takes place. And when we eventually, the me wins that wants to be seen, we end up saying things in a way that isn't nice, right? Because it's coming from this pent-up frustration. So I think this is such a valuable topic that we're going to be talking about now, particularly in the dynamic of partnerships, right? In the dynamic of relationships. Because in relationships, if we don't understand how to put ourselves first, we are always going to put others first, right?
Yeah.
And it's not about putting ourselves first at the expense of someone else. It's never about that. It's about putting ourselves first in the way that we can be the best person that we can. We get told to at the airplane, put your oxygen on before you help your child, before you help another human being. Why? Because you can't help anybody when you're lacking oxygen, right? You're going to do worse for them. And it's not going to be good for a mother to die and leave a poor child alone. It just doesn't make sense. You want to try and have both people survive in order that that child can thrive, so there's future generation. So I think there's something about a mismatch that happens between people feeling that they need to give more, and the idea that if they give more, they're selfish. If they give more to themselves, they're selfish, right? Sorry, I corrected myself as I said it, and I could see Carol Ann's, huh? Huh? So I am watching you and I'm receiving feedback from you. But yeah, so that's so it's really pivotal in relationships that we really do understand this concept of the what the me means, right? The me to give and receive. What that means is so very important, and how when we truly give to ourselves in a healthy, resourceful way, we're actually giving much, much more to others.
Mm.
And we have the energy to give to others, of course. Yeah. Nomsa.
Hi, Sharon and Carol. I love this topic. I think it's really, really important. And I like when Carol Ann said, recognize your abandonment, where you abandoned your voice or your needs, and the list went on. Because at the end of the day, we try to fit in with other people, and that's when we abandon ourselves. And also, Sharon, you said by being praised, we do more putting ourselves first so we can be. So you said when you're being praised, you want to do more. So the danger in that, when you do more because people are praising you, you could easily, like you said, you can easily neglect yourself because you're no longer driven by your talent, you're driven by the praise. So I think it's really, really important when people are clapping for you to still know your identity, know who you are, and get to know their needs as well, what they desire, their true needs, because people can get carried away. So all those things are very, very important. And also, Carol Ann, and both of you said putting yourself first, it can be the best thing you could ever done for yourself. And I think that is really, really important, because people abandon themselves because they try to fit in, and they fear if they don't do what they are meant to do, they ignore their feelings, their values, or intuition. People may not like them, or sometimes they choose to stay silent when they're meant to speak up. They say yes when yes is meant to be no. Uh, I think it is really, really important, because if you do that, you stay wounded. So it's important to recognize that when you put yourself first, um, it's not selfish. It's you recognizing where you're going. Like Shirini, you said, you mentioned that the aeroplane, that they always say put your oxygen first. If you don't put your oxygen first, you can't help somebody else. And which is myself, I always say that if I cannot be honest with myself and do what I have to do and love myself, so I can love people honestly around me, unapologetic. So that means that I cannot share the love that I don't have myself. So I have to understand that what love is. So I think it's really, really important that you people understand that you cannot change a pattern you refuse to acknowledge. The minute you acknowledge who you are, you acknowledge the things that you are supposed to do and who God created you to be, and you are able to move forward. For me, I have spent time looking at people, like sometimes people I'm trying to move forward, I'm creating my own life, and people trying to pull me back because they want me to put friendship first before them. And when I'm putting friendship, it means if they tell me that, Nomsa, what you're doing is not right, or don't do that, I'm developing myself, but I'm being told that I shouldn't be doing that. So for me, I'm looking at myself, because the Holy Spirit, I have fun with the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit is like, it's like laughing, and I'm thinking I've passed that mindset of trying to pull me back to where God has in store, for what God has for me. So I'm like, I need to go and do what I have to do. And sometimes I'm my own critics. Me, I criticize myself. I look at my life and I correct myself, because I know that if I do not correct myself, if I don't work myself to wake up and do what I have to do, no one will.
No one will.
No,
That's true. No
only
one
God and
will.
me that need to work myself and wake me up and do what I got to do.
Like, this is where putting yourself first is important, because it says by standing up and saying, no, I am important. I need to think about what are my needs as alongside other people's needs, not put them behind and sort of make other people's needs important. And something, or more important than my own, and something sort of came to mind as I've been listening, because I've had lots of sort of thoughts of this, and things have come up over the years where I've been doing sort of healing on myself and clearing things from my childhood. And one of the things that keeps coming back is that, and I don't know how true it is, but it's what keeps coming to me, and it's that feeling. So I think there's something in that, but I feel that my needs were always put behind my siblings because they were younger than me. And it's how I then perceived it. It was because they needed something. They were younger. They needed it. So it came before mine. How true that is, I don't know, because it is our perception. But that was my perception. That's how I took it on. And that's how it's played out for me. And so because that's how I've seen it, experienced it, and thought that's what it was, then I'm constantly looking for that. It's like my needs aren't important. Everyone else's are more important than mine. So that has played out a lot. And I've been sort of freeing that up. And this is where this whole conversation these last 12 weeks has helped. And this one, what is the cost? Because it is your peace of mind. It's your own happiness. Because I think you said, Shireen, didn't you, that it's there's a happiness there if your needs are met, if you put yourself first. So it's your happiness is key here. You have, as I say, that peace of mind. And I love what you said, Namsa, you can't change a pattern you don't acknowledge. If we can't see the pattern. So again, this is why this conversation is so important. What does me mean? But what does not choosing myself look like? Because we do it so inherently, just so naturally, we don't even know that we're doing it. That's the problem. And this is why this conversation is so important. So it helps you to start thinking, because even me sort of going through the topic this morning and just researching, bringing some notes together and some thoughts together, has me thinking, well, yeah, often I put myself last. And I can think over the years, it's like, my God, yeah, I used to do that. I used to do that a lot. A lot, and it's like, now I realize why I'm in the position I'm in with my business, because I would always help other people first. And it's like, oh, okay, whatever I needed to do for my business or my work, that went to one side. I need to get money in, but someone else needed help with something urgently. So like, because there was something that I got from that. And I think, Shireen, you mentioned that. Is it that dopamine hit? There's gratitude, there's something there, you feel, it's a feel-good factor. So what stopped me having that feel-good factor about making what I want to do important and giving my attention to that? And even enrolling somebody in supporting me. So it's that's sort of just coming to me as I'm talking here and thinking, it's like, yeah, okay, maybe that's something to look at. around how can we then
Yeah.
make our own needs important. But it's not about choosing over somebody else. It doesn't mean that nobody else matters.
Yeah.
It's just recognizing that you matter too.
Yeah.
And you put yourself in line.
Yeah, you put it at a level keel where it should be, rather than someone here and you sitting here, right? And never feeling as though you're ever going to get here at that level, which is, I think, so very, it's pivotal. It's pivotal. And and it is important to kind of, I love what you said, and recognizing how can I get someone else to help me, right? Be on my side, right? Stand in and hear. And that obviously sits with what Nomsa said. We have to be able to acknowledge that we have this pattern. And we have to acknowledge that we need help. And we have to acknowledge that the problem when we get praised and we do things very well is that our sense of self-esteem is built on that. So when we get help, then that means we're weak. That means we're this. That means we're this. All of that rubbish, but it is rubbish. But the thing is, it doesn't invalidate what the feeling is, right? Because that feeling that is still sitting there hasn't been properly unraveled so that you can get its real bit of information that you need to have. And while you were busy talking that, it was really interesting. And I think what's very important, and I think it is valuable in recognizing that for the most, women in general would rather keep the connection than lose the connection, right? They would rather lose themselves to keep the connection. Very often, because of the way society has created it, men are quite happy because women flock around them, right? So they are quite happy to just be. And actually, the way they're often brought up is that they are totally looked after, so that they never ever have the feeling that they have to do anything, right? So there's a kind of a self-entitlement that often happens. But it's really important to recognize that also isn't their fault, right? So when we're in relationships, we have to learn how to recognize, hey, there's me too, right? And there's me both, right? Me and you both. And how do I word things for myself that allow me to, one of my key things to say to people, would any reasonable person expect me to do this? Would any reasonable person say, oh, yeah, take the day off, all right? Would any reasonable person? Because when we do that in relationships, when we do that for ourselves, it takes away that bit of judgment we're sitting in. And it allows us to look at it and go, actually, no, this is what I would say to someone else. So then if I'm reasonable, then a reasonable person might say that to me. So therefore, I'm being reasonable, right? And it's about taking what's untrue out of it and putting a sense of reasonableness into it, so that we actually go, when I say no, or when I say I'm going to do this, or when I do that, then it means that I'm doing it as a reasonable person, right? That's got a brain, that has got a mind, that is open-hearted. All of these things stay in that. And I think this is really interesting because at the minute, as I said to Nomsa, I have my 100-year-old mother-in-law here. And I notice we're being very different because she is a lot more fragile and a lot more different. And she can't do the things that she used to do. And I mean, seriously, a year ago, she would have been able to walk down to the lake and back and no problem. But she's done a sudden drop. And I'm realizing, we've got to be different. But I also recognize that we have to be more clear with the way we create our reasonableness, so that, one, we manage her in a different way, but we also manage ourselves and not curtail ourselves too much that we are unhappy. And how do we do that? How do we frame things to her and say, well, will you be okay if we do this, right? So we make a decision of what we want, and then we go and ask, and we sort of say, would it be okay if you do this? This is what we'll do. And we're doing more negotiations, which we would probably never have done. But the most important thing that I really have noticed is the clarity at which I have had to really be very explicit. Like, for example, when I came home and I said to Andy, your mom's got to take water tablets. You know, you want to go to another shop. So, but he comes in and he doesn't talk anything about those water tablets. And I immediately came in. I said, you know, Andy wants to take you to Cockermouth, right? Would you mind taking your water tablets now so that you'll have 2 hours, you'll pee, and you'll be able to go, right? And she
Yeah.
said, oh, it's 12:15. I should have taken them already. Right. So, but it was recognizing that someone's going to have to take responsibility for no assumptions, right? And ask so that that person gets the clear information, and you're being as generous and open-hearted, but you're also making sure that everybody else's needs get met, right? So that she can go with him, that he can go and feel that he's doing something for his mom. So you can see how that navigating works. So I think this is the secret of what we're talking about. It's about allowing ourselves to be able to say things in a way that helps everybody else in the system also be supported, including you. So you're in that same network and you're all bouncing in a lovely, beautiful way. I mean, I'm imagining seeing us all connected as networks, and that as we move, this moves and it's kind of, and it self-corrects. And it just really is a kind of a state of a flow. And I think this is kind of how relationships should be, right? Or it could be, if you want in an ideal kind of way, the one that's flexible and can move, and it can move back into the homeostasis in a natural and ordinary way. So that was a lesson that I learned today, thinking about it. I thought, oh, you know, what would make it easier? I can see that he hasn't done this. Right, I'm going to be doing this. I'm not going to be around. How do we navigate this so that everybody feels like they're okay? And I realized before I would have just kind of let go and not done anything, but now I'm having to really step in and be upfront with it in a different way.
Yeah.
And I've just heard them go out the door.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. No, so you're muted.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love that, Shireen, when you said I think it's beautiful to be generous and at the same time making sure that everyone is supported around you. And I think that's what putting you first. That's the glory of putting you first, because when you put you first, you are able to help others. If you don't, you become so miserable because you actually unhappy. So it's really, really important. And you said the women also would rather lose themselves so they don't lose the connection. I've seen it with my friends, and I'm wondering sometimes I see my friends when they're single, they're driven, they want to do this, they want to do that. When they find that person, the one, the dreams, it becomes of a husband, and they're no longer driven or anything. They live with the things that they did before they met these people. So I'm thinking, I can't do that. Me, I have to live. I have to live. I have to be me. So I cannot lose myself in the process of love or in the process of whatever business connection. So I always make sure that when I'm meeting people, people knows where I stand and where I'm going as well. And I think that is really, really important. There was a guy in Colombia. He wanted to connect with me to collaborate. So yeah, I'm like, yeah, we can collaborate and things like that. But I had to make sure that we both know where we stand. I'm a woman, of course, because people look down on women. I don't know if you realize that people actually disrespect women leaders, and which is not right. So, but these people that disrespect women leaders, they actually help me because they help me to be tough with people. So when men comes, I'm like, you are a man, but when it comes to business, it is no such thing as a man or woman. We are all leaders. So I've got to be on point and just do what I have to do. So I think that is really, really important. And Carol Ann, you said putting yourself first is important and putting your needs. And Anna, you told a story about how you were always pushed behind your siblings. And I think that is really, really, I think you the oldest, Carol Ann?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think when you are the oldest, because my dad loved my older sisters. I've got two older sisters. My dad loved us children so much. And now my dad is gone, and my sister always say, "You were everybody's favorite." I'm like, that's not true. Yeah, I'm like, that's not true. Because to them, they thought because I hanged out with my dad. I'm like, me, I'm nosy. I was hanging out because I want to know. I'm curious about things. I would just wanted to know what they're up to and things like that. But I knew how my father felt about his children. So when my sisters, like said to me, you were always the favorite, even my grandmother said, no, that's not true. My family would do anything. My dad was very, very clear when we talk that you children are my world. If he said, you know, sir, you're my world, I can understand it. But you children, all of you, you are my world. Because with my grandmother and my granddad, he was the only child. So you always put him first and put his children first. He's very, very protective. So I like what I can see where you're coming from, Carol Ann. Sometimes our parents can make us feel that we are not valued, but they value us. It's just asking questions and asking their feelings. If you had to ask your parents would have told me something else. That Carol Ann, if anything happens to you right now, my world will fall apart. That because that's how they feel it. That's the love they have for you. But because, and I was saying to my siblings, you guys never ask questions. You just assumed and just did all this. But to me, I ask questions. So now I'm telling them, no, my dad loved us so much. If I go to my younger brother, I'll say, oh, this one, whatever you do, make sure that she's available because she was my daddy's word. I'm like, that's not true. So, and then also you said happiness. Carol Ann said, Shireen said happiness is key as well. And Carol Ann, you said happiness is key. I think without happiness, you wouldn't be able to make other people happy. You cannot give what you don't have. And also, you said, how can we learn it to put our needs? Is so important. For me, I've learned it the hard way because I did was pleasing people and not realizing actually sometimes in order for me to get to where I need to be, I have to leave some people behind because nobody agrees with anybody. I don't know with you guys doing your businesses and being a coach. For me, I've realized that nobody agrees with anybody. But the life that you have to do is between you and God. And God knows your needs and knows your want. I might be Nomsa and being a Christian and stuff, but when God enters Carol An's life, God will treat Carol Ann as an individual. And then now Carol Ann is then, or Shireen, you guys, you then have to come to me and say, Nomsa, this is what I'm doing. So me, I just follow. I'm like, okay, what do you want me to support? How do you want me to support you? So people don't know that's how it works. They want people to affirm where they're meant to be going. They want people to say, oh, you're beautiful. The day somebody forgets that they are beautiful, they are no longer beautiful. So I've learned to actually do these things, not to do things because I'm being praised. I've learned it the hard way. I think I did Paul McKenna's program. That's when I've learned how to put me first in everything else that I do and also ask questions. I think that's important and not assuming. And also what Shirina was saying, loving people and supporting people around you, making sure that they're supported. I think that's important.
Absolutely. Without happiness, you can't give it to others. That's very true. If you're not feeling it yourself, how can you spread happiness? It's not here to spread or bring out in others. So choosing yourself first, making sure you are happy is really key here. And that is a cost of choosing yourself. You have the power to spread happiness because you're happy. How cool is that? That awareness of what this looks like when we don't choose ourselves, that automatically saying yes. And when you just do that automatic yes, how does that make you feel? So again, become aware of, you said yes. How are you feeling? Is there that sinking feeling? Oh no, I didn't really want to say that. Or are you saying yes because you're happy to say yes, because that is truly your needs are still being met in that? This is how you can become aware of it. Notice in your body, notice your actions and how they make you feel. Keeping quiet when something matters. And I love, Shireen, what you were saying about you actually spoke out. Instead of keeping quiet, you spoke out. You knew something needed to be said. She needed to take her tablets. Whose mother is it? Sorry, is it your?
It's Andrew's mother.
It's Andrew's mother. So it's your mother-in-law. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you hadn't spoken out,
she would have forgotten to take them.
She would have got to take exactly, but it would have impacted on you.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, so it's recognizing there's something here that matters, and I need to speak out. And it matters to me because there will be an impact on me. So in that respect, you are putting yourself in, first, not so much first, but you're choosing yourself. You could also to notice where you perhaps abandon your plans when someone else needs something. How often does that happen? And notice what you say to yourself. There may be a reason you may think, oh, no. Just go to the underneath feeling and recognize, yes, you are abandoning your plans. You may be telling yourself another story, because I was, when I think back. But the harsh truth was I was abandoning what I really wanted to do and my plans. To me, I was just, it's okay. I put them off. It's like, this is more important. But no, I abandoned my plans at that point to support somebody else, to do something else with someone else. So recognize that, because it's so sneaky. You realize you don't realize you're doing it.
Yeah.
And it's then asking that question, well, I'm putting my things aside, my plans aside. Is that abandoning them or is it okay? Or have I rescheduled them and make sure that I do keep my plans on track? Make sure that you're in there too. How can helping that person also be supporting your plans? So it's not abandoning your plans, it's supporting your plans in moving forward with what you want to do. There is some synergy or symbiosis or whatever the word is, it's a togetherness here. And I recognize that at times I wanted to do that, but I couldn't. It's just I went, and sometimes when I had requested that there be something to support me with my plans, it didn't happen. And I can remember feeling, and it's like that sinking, that disappointing feeling, but also there's like a little bit of resentment, that little bit of, what about me? And it's that little inner child that I recognize. And I have done quite a lot of work with, and she's not saying what about me quite so much now these days, bless her. But yeah, she was very much saying, what about me? What about me? And it is that younger me who I realized was going, what about me? But didn't speak up, or was maybe, I felt, no, I can't, because, someone else's needs are more important. But again, it was my interpretation of it. And I think this is where we need to be clear. It wasn't necessarily the truth. Because as Nomsa, you said, you're saying it doesn't mean they don't love you. They're not taking care of you. They're not thinking your needs, someone else's needs are more important. It's in that moment, something, maybe that the conversation hasn't been had in a way that enables you to take on board, well, actually, yes, I am being thought of, but right now, this little baby needs to be fed. And that, is important. And but it isn't actually more important to you. It's just recognizing where you are in this. And that, my parents didn't love me any less, didn't think of me any less. And we're always happy, we're always there to support. But there was that part of me that interpreted, no, my needs are, or other people's needs are more important. So yeah, and I've learned to sort of ask and speak out more now. So it's just recognizing these little subtle ways in which it happens, tolerating behavior that hurts you. Often do you do that? Never making time for your dreams. I recognized a few years ago I'd stopped dreaming because I had, and I like this phrase actually, I'd stopped making time for my dreams. I now declare I'm going to start making time for my dreams. I have actually started to sort of dare to dream again. It's like, oh yeah, wouldn't mind that. Oh yeah, then started to get excited about daring to dream. So, do recognize that and recognize where you continually postpone your own needs. Stop doing it. It's not saying it's wrong. It's just be aware that this is where you are not choosing yourself and having those conversations. And I loved, what you were saying, Shireen, about you had the conversations with your mother-in-law, with your husband, so that it works. You're not postponing what you want to do at the, for somebody else's needs. It's being worked together. And what you said about, I saw this network of little strings going out, and it's sort of what one does affects the other. And it's like, wow, yes. I had a beautiful visual in my head, and each one impacts the other. And it is having that lovely harmonious rhythm and balance in there rather than one sort of jangling. And so, yeah, I love that.
Well, that was when I had my very first mystical or out-of-body experience, was when I was kind of thrown into the universe and I saw everything in our body. I was looking at all things for homeostatic things, and I was seeing all what would be planets, but they're not planets. They were organs all over the show, and there were things just moving in harmony. And this is what they described was described as homeostatic balance. And how things can have, after a period of time, how, like with smoking, it took 20 years before you'll see the effects of smoking, because we're always self-correcting, always self-correcting, always self-correcting. That's why when someone says, heart attacks come out of the blue. No, it's never out of the blue. We've had little signs long ways along, and it's just pushed it out. We haven't been able to come back into the correction. So yeah, so we have a correction and we just keep going like that, which is not in the right place. But that's also with relationships too, right?
Yeah.
When we sell ourselves out, we kind of we do this again. And this kind of balance until eventually something breaks, right? Something happens. Maybe we do it for a while until we just have a burst of bloody temper or something like that. Sometimes we can correct that. Sometimes we can't. We normally can correct them in families because people stay together. But in general, we wouldn't do it to our friends necessarily because we know that would be the end of the friendship, right? So most of us will keep the connection before we will actually have the fight, which is really interesting before we'll do that. But I think what I really wanted to bring in again, and it's so powerful and it's so important, was what Nomsa said there, is that, however, you have two older children, which your father absolutely loved, and there was you who was a different being, right? Because younger children, I don't know how much older your sister is than from you, but they would have been almost in another era in a way, right? So depending on how old they were,
We are all 1 year apart.
all right, you're all 1 year apart. But to have two babies 1 year apart is actually a lot of work for parents. And
Yeah.
if you've got a lot of family around, it's not such a bad pull. But if you don't, then for parents, that's a lot, right? And so each child automatically doesn't have the mental capacity to realize, my mum still loves me. They feel they got dethroned by the child below, right? And then the third child, the middle child, feels dethroned because there's you, right? But each of you are uniquely different. Each of you have different ways and different strategies. You learned to talk to your dad. That was your way to manage the status, right? To keep your power in your own way, in the same way your sister had hers. And it's really important because Alman always Adler talks about power struggles within families and how everybody looks for power because they want to be the queen or the king, right? And because that's the safest place to be. When everybody's watching out for you, then you're safe, right? But if they're not, then you're on the outskirts, and that's where you're more likely to die. That's why we're always trying to get attention. We're trying to find our way to get it. So praise, that's where praise taps into. When we're praised, it's kind of, hey, they're paying attention to us, right? And they make us feel good. Oh, we must do some more of that. So that's how praise works. In a different way, when we have conversations with family, they learn that this is the communicator. This is the one that you go to talk to. These kinds of things, I can just be at peace. So all of a sudden, even if you don't get praised, you are given presence. So there's all sorts of things that feel that. But the perception of each person is they're seeing that they're having something taken away from them. Not intentionally, but the thing is because this is our reaction of disconnection when it happens, that we misinterpret the information. So for example, my brother used to think that I got everything from my parents. He thought I got everything, but he was kind of what I would call the naughty child. I was the good child, right? Because I had to be the good child. My mother made me look after the naughty child, right? I was the elder one, right? I was always told to be responsible. I was 16 months old. So I always thought my parents didn't care about me. I always thought they cared about him, right? Because they gave him everything, literally gave him everything. And often what I asked for, I didn't get. So it was really interesting. And then there was a time so it was, and he never let go of that to the day he died. He never let go of that belief that actually maybe he might have got it a bit wrong. And it was interesting when when I was about 20 something, I was in my early 20s, I went out for the whole night and came back. And when I came back home, I could see how distraught my mother was. I hadn't phoned her. I just stayed the night somewhere else at a friend's house. Oh my God, she was so distraught. She had not slept. She had walked up and down the corridor the whole night, devastated. She cried when I walked in. It was the first time I'd really seen my mother show emotion for me. And I realized, oh my God, my mother does love me. And I think what you said, Nomsa, your parents, if you were gone, their world would be devastated because they love you no matter what. And they didn't love me because I was doing things. They loved me for who I was, right?
Yeah.
So that was the thing that I hadn't put I had mismatched that. Oh, because I do this, they love me, instead of because I am me.
Mm.
And so that was a very profound moment for me. So it's a very important thing, I think, for other people when you start to look at your siblings. Be aware that actually parents don't just stop loving their children just because they have children. And just because you kind of get left because others are kind of taking priority at the moment, doesn't mean that their world wouldn't be devastated without you. And to recognize that most parents do the very best job that they can with the limitations that they have. So on saying that, how do we use those old beliefs? How do we change those old beliefs and recognize that actually what we used to hold as a perception is untrue? I was lucky I got some tangible evidence. When you don't get tangible evidence, how do you reconcile those feelings? How do you find a way, right? I mean, that's a kind of really important aspect of how do we stop being the people pleaser? How do we start putting our needs first in a way that allows everyone to thrive? So this is not about a me, it's about a we, right? Because we live in systems. Well, we cannot live alone. Aloneness doesn't mean we're going to be happy. Aloneness will give us a peaceful state, but it won't give us happiness because we're here for others too. But it's about how do we balance that inner and that outer, right? The inner and the outer. How do we move between those two worlds and navigate it that our inner stays full so that we can give more to the outer? But I must tell the story. What I truly believe, and it's what I pay attention to all the time, is I never leave things in my car so that they can be stolen. Not because I fear losing things. It's because I fear the karma that's going to be upon the person stealing. So I really care so much about you that I don't want you to steal. So I'm not going to put temptation in your way.
I like that. Yeah.
I like that. That's so powerful.
It's a nice way to think about things. But then again, that's how do you put yourself first? You don't lose anything, right? You put yourself first by never losing stuff or having a break into your car. But then you also do something for mankind, right? For the soul kind.
Yeah.
For me, it's like a nice way to think about the world.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yesterday, I was having a showdown with Satan because I was praying and they were coming with ancestors disturbing me. So I said to them, just bugger off. You're not going to get me out by distracting me. And they're telling me this accusation. And I was like, I don't want no stories. I want my glory. Because I was speaking to the land and then they're challenging me. I was like, I don't want no stories, the ancestors. I want my glory. Release my glory. So and then I came to thinking like, like Sharina, what you were saying, when we don't put ourselves first, we don't know that their lives are attached to us. Other people, for them to succeed, we have to succeed first. I was listening to Pastor James' story. There was this girl, she was very, very gifted in a way that the church, they were actually, apparently they didn't want her, they were throwing her out. But then God decided, he said, you don't have, she was like, like everything in the Bible. And apparently she will speak, like she will see the angels of Abraham and Isaac and things like that. And people will be like, why would you have a gift like that? You wouldn't. So they chase her out of churches. Every church she goes, she got chased out. And God said to her, now that these people that they say they worship me because they're ignorant, they chase you out. So I need you now to go and do the work. You don't have to go to church, but I need you to go and turn these witches into normal people. So she's the one that turned Pastor James into a pastor. So apparently, when she met Pastor James had an assignment in Europe. So he's ready now. He's coming to Europe, and the girl showed up by the doorstep and said, "God, I've been asked to stop you." And Pastor James summoned 600 or 1,000 witches to attack her. They couldn't because she had the power of God. And she turned to him. So when she tells the story, it makes you look at it. If this girl did not turn him to what he is today, I wouldn't have been saved him, even myself, because I ended up with him and Dr. Olukoya because the Holy Spirit put me there. So I'm thinking, if you don't take action and you neglect your needs, you neglect your voice, and there are some people who have written off so many things. They're like, I can't do this, I don't want to do this. But it's not our choice to say we can't do that, because our Creator knows who we are. And He trusts us with these abilities that He has given us. And for us, it is to just show up and take action. It might not be easy, but that's how life is designed, not to be easy. But it is when you know that I know who I am and I know where I need to go. And was it Sharon? You said when everyone gives attention, when everyone gives us attention, we think that we can do. We feel like the Flash. When people don't give us attention, and we don't, and you shared the story about your parents that you thought your parents did not love you, but the day you decided to go, when you come back, you realize that actually my parents loves me. And for me, it's like even with my sister. And when she was telling me, oh, my daddy loves, I was like, but you were one part of the club. She was doing the same as well to me because she was the oldest. So everyone was giving me all this attention. So I had to explain to her that the same love you were giving me is that the same love you lost everybody else that was giving me. And then she understood that I was the youngest and they all pumped me with love. But I said to her, my dad loved you so much, or my daddy would do anything for his children, that man. And also, Carol Ann, you said you keep quiet when something needs to be said. It's important to go underneath your feelings and understand your needs and make time for your dreams, which people don't. Even Dr. Olukoya was talking about it yesterday, that people don't have time they will tell you that they would like to do this, they would like to do that, but they don't have time for themselves. They are busy doing nothing. There are times where you're like, I'm busy, but what makes me busy? I'm doing nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
There's that song, isn't it? I'm busy doing nothing. Da, 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 da. It's a beautiful song. My mum used to sing it and she did concert party with the Thames Women's Guild.
Yeah, so any words of encouragement, guys? It's 8 minutes past.
Shreen, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'm just really thinking, I loved something that Nomsa said and something it's quite important. I think it's about, when people need support, is just to say, how can I support you? That's a phrase that doesn't get you caught into rescuer mode, right? It's how can I support you to do what you need to do? How can I support you? Where would be the best use of my time for you so that I can give you what you need as well as keep time for myself, so that you're very clear. So the most important thing, I think, is about how do you develop very clear strategies and languaging so that people don't take offense. They actually go, oh, actually, that's a reasonable thing that you've requested, right? They get the sense that you have met their need. And that's interesting because when people feel we've met their needs and we've done it in a way that's done very consciously and deliberately, then our needs are always met.
Yeah.
And that's where happiness starts, isn't it? Because when our needs are met, we feel valued.
Mm. Yeah. Beautiful. Feel valued. Yeah. And happy.
And happy.
So
Carol Ann?
I think it's just a prompt. There were some of the things I was going to say, but I don't think I need to go through that. We'll see where we go from this series of 12. I'm not sure where we're going to head next, but we'll see what opens up. But I think I'd just like to leave people with the thought that the cost in relationships of putting yourself last can create resentment, loss of identity, exhaustion, feeling unseen or unheard, emotional distance, and frustration. If you feel any of those, wake up, it's the flag. Okay, so recognize the flags and ask yourself the question, if I truly believed that my needs, voice, and dreams mattered too, what is one choice I would begin making differently? And just allow yourself to sit with that, and what comes up, be with that and take action on that, because your happiness does matter. And choosing yourself doesn't mean leaving others behind. It means finally deciding not to leave yourself behind. Yeah. So.
For me, guys, are you finished, Carol Ann?
Yeah, sorry, that's it from me for now. Yeah.
For me, guys, I would say stop ignoring your inner voice, because that inner voice is really, really important. And also identify the fears behind your choices. Accept that everyone will not understand you. When you're choosing yourself, it may confuse other people. They may not understand your dream, and do not spend time trying to convince them to understand where you're going, where you're supposed to be, because they are not meant to understand it. They are meant to see it coming to reality. So too many people spend the time, they're like, oh, I don't understand why this person does not get what I'm trying to do. I'm like, they are not supposed to get you. You are supposed to get on with it. Stop complaining and get on with it. I always tell my friends that. And I've seen it even with myself. Some people send me messages private. They're like, Nomsa, your content, we used to understand it before, but now we don't understand it. These are the people that I knew them for a very long time ago. I say to them, is because you want me to stay in one place. I'm not meant to stay in that place. I've meant to grow. So I have grown. I have learned so many things. So you can grow with me. So I think that is really, really important to know who you are, where God is taking you. And those things are important. And if you guys are watching us from YouTube, please do subscribe to our channel and be part of the family and join the groups, please. 2 groups, not one. Unique Billionaire Mindset and Gossip Talk Shows. Everybody's joining Unique Billionaire Mindset. So right now, if I go to Unique Billionaire Mindset after the show, I'll find the people requesting to join. No Gossip Talk Show. I think I need to change the name, Billionaire Mindset. Everyone wants to be a billionaire, which is a good thing. So may God bless you. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow, I think I'm with Amanda. Grant has been swept away by the US.
Oh, wow. Okay. Good on him.
Yeah, I think he's in the US for the whole month this month.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll enjoy that.
Yeah. I'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.